Our name is Ghosts Want You Dead. Sometimes one knows well in advance the things that one should do, but some mysterious force bent on the destruction of these well laid plans prevents one from following through. One finds oneself scrambling desperately to meet self imposed deadlines. That is to say, we've both had a busy month and slacked off regarding the podcast, and now have to scramble to produce 3 episodes in 2 days. So, sorry about that. Hello, I'm Matthew, and it's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's hot because the air conditioner is off.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and this episode is gonna be wild, so buckle in.
Yes, I guess we should say at this point that we've had a promotional idea, which will run by you guys now and tell us what you think. But because season 3 of Interview with the Vampire starts in like a week, we are considering adding bonus episodes to the free feed that are short, less than half an hour recap slash discussions of this season of that show. We wouldn't start from the beginning, we'd just start at season 3. And it is mainly a ploy to get us more listeners because that show is considerably more popular than our beloved Dark Shadows. So, if we do free weekly episodes on that for like the 8 or 9 weeks that it's on, that will draw in the fans of that program, and then they will fall in parasocial love with us and join us for our discussions of Dark Shadows.
Yeah,
Good idea?
I
Bad
like it.
idea?
What do you guys think? Tell us, please. We're gonna do it anyway because I could talk about Sam Reed all night long.
That's the thing. Like, we're both
We're gonna
fans
talk,
of the
yeah,
show and we're both watching it and we'll be talking about it in any way, so we might as well turn microphones on.
yep.
And on that note, shall we talk about Dark Shadows?
Yes, please. Episode 181. Victoria Winters says the sea brought the night in, and it's pensive. Vicky and Carolyn are in the drawing room. Vicky is voiceovering about darkness and unending fear, and Carolyn is pacing, and Vicky is sitting reading. Carolyn doesn't like that Roger went to go see Liz in Boston and everyone else is out of the house, and she doesn't like being the feeling of being alone in the house. Vicky reminds her, "Hey, you're not alone. I'm here, and David's here, and Mrs. Johnson is here." But Carolyn says Mrs. Johnson is elsewhere, and
Ain't none of y'all little bitches gonna protect me
right.
from Bird Lady.
Yeah, David and you don't count. And Vicky tries to send her to bed at this point, which is probably a good call. But she is worried about the fellas who have not called to touch base while they were out digging up bird graves. Vicky hears something and says, "Something's coming from the door."
They get scared, and Vicky worries that it might be Laura, and then Carolyn gets scared. But at this point, the mysterious visitor starts banging on the door, and they are scared and don't want to open the door. Opening credits. Turns out it's just Dr. Guthrie and Joe without Frank, dropping in to tell them that Josette stopped by and helped them rob graves. They explain that both Stockbridge and Radcliffe Laura's both have empty coffins, just like Phoenix, Arizona Laura. They show Vicky and Carolyn the bird tempered old newspaper and explain about Grandpa Graveyard getting bird whammied. Basically, they recap the entire last episode. Guthrie advises that they might need to do another seance, and also David should definitely be kept away from Laura. Vicky and Carolyn are like, we'll try, but we can't stop Roger, and he's in Boston tonight, but he's coming back tomorrow, and he could just give his child away.
And Guthrie does want to talk to Roger about it, but he is in Boston. He wants them to keep him away and also to try to persuade David to stay at Collinwood, like make it his idea, be like, you don't want to go with Mother. And yeah, everybody's like, okay, well, we'll see. Upstairs, Carolyn is checking on David and tucks him in a little bit and wakes him up accidentally. She says she was just checking to see if he's asleep, and he's like, you just woke me up. He's like, I don't like you in my room. There would be a huge fit if I came into your room. I thought we had an agreement a long time ago that we'd let each other do our own thing. And also, you're a bitch to me all of the time, so why are you here? She doesn't say because I'm mildly possessed by my witchy mother who loves you, but rather talks about maturing and changing.
Not very convincingly. She's
Yeah.
just like, but I'm nice now.
Yeah. And, they talk a little bit. It's really kind of inconsequential. And she says goodnight and leaves.
David gets in a good burn and tells Carolyn that she hasn't changed. She just likes to think that she has. She gives up and tells him to go back to sleep, but he calls after her, asking if she's okay. He's alarmed because she's never been nice to him before. She assures him that everything is fine and exits.
Meanwhile, Joe is having a research montage.
The library is janky and looks suspiciously like the secret room what Matthew locked Vicky in at the old house because it's probably the same set.
Oh, yeah, you said that while we were watching, and I
I,
forgot.
I did.
You did. Well, yeah, so he is in the secret room, but not. And later, Vicky and David are trying to do some schoolwork, but he's talking about sisters. I guess maybe he's daydreaming about having a sister and not doing the assignment she'd given him. And he's talking about how nice it would be. And I guess that it's from his conversation with Carolyn, unless there's something coming
Yeah,
down the line. But
that took a minute to land for me as well. At first, it seems as though he's trying to tell Vicky that he loves her like a sister. But then towards the end of it, it dawned on me that, oh no, after his weird exchange with Carolyn in the night,
he's trying to figure out, yeah.
now he is fantasizing about Carolyn being his older sister, and it's awkward and sad.
Yeah, David makes me sad a lot. The phone rings and it's Joe asking for Guthrie. Joe asks if it's okay if he comes up. He wants to show Guthrie something, and she says, well, he's not here, but he will be. So he says, well, tell him I'm on the way. And so
Well,
he's coming.
he tells her that he found a copy of the tampered with newspaper, but he won't tell her what it said because she's just a lady, so better wait and tell Dr. Daddy.
Yeah. Oh, Dr. Daddy. Vicky goes to look for David's book that he has left in the kitchen. And while he's sitting by the fire, he gets a vision of himself in the fire. You see his little head superimposed, disembodied, floating in the flames. And he is freaked out and is screaming, help, help, Mother, Miss Winters, help me. And he starts to frantically run off, but Guthrie is coming in just then and runs into him. He's freaking out, saying he saw himself in the fire, and Vicky comes to investigate the screaming, and he clings to her and says that he was on fire. He was on fire, and
Later, Joe arrives and is showing Dr. Daddy the newspaper he found at the library. But Vicky comes down for help with David because she still can't calm him down from his fire vision. She explains that vision to Joe. Joe reveals it was a vision of the past. The newspaper reveals that Laura Murdoch Radcliffe burned up with her boy child David in her arms. End credits.
Episode 182. Victoria Winters says fear and mystery is taking shape, and that shape is Laura, and we got to keep David away from her.
In the drawing room, David works on schoolwork. Vicky enters at an inopportune moment and catches him slacking. She urges him to concentrate. He changes the subject and tells Vicky that he's made up his mind and he's pretty sure he does want to go away with Mother after all. Suspenseful music sting opening credits. Vicky is like, "Are you sure? You know, she's an evil bird witch that wants to set you on fire after all. What made up your mind?" David says that it's because he's afraid. He thinks all the visions of himself on fire are a warning that he should leave Collinwood. What possible other thing could these omens be warning him of?
Right. And Vicky is thinking maybe the warnings are going in the other direction. Like, do you think maybe they could be telling you your mother's an evil bird woman? Like, what else? Guthrie comes in and is encouraging him to hold off on deciding, but he freaks out and says it's up to his father, not him, and you're not my real Ghostbuster, and runs off. Guthrie says he wants to get Roger on his team right away, and Vicky thinks that that could be very difficult, but she also thinks that Burke is very influential to David. Guthrie's a little concerned about that because last we checked in with Burke, he was bird magicked into Laura's pocket.
Yeah, so they both resolve to go off and talk to each of these people and try and
Each
get
of
them on board.
David's prospective fathers go find out who is willing to man up, as it were.
Later, Roger arrives home and Guthrie tries to talk to him, but Roger isn't having it and he's being a bitch about Liz still being unconscious. Roger doesn't want to talk about Laura and he tries to walk away, so Dr. Guthrie yells, "Mr. Collins, do you want your son to die?" He accuses Laura of trying to destroy David. And then he's like, "Don't tell Laura, but turns out she's an undead bird witch." And he tells Roger about all the empty graves and Josette helping find them, but Roger isn't buying it. Dr. Guthrie says that Mrs. Collins intends to burn David alive, and we get a fun intercut to Vicky telling Burke the very same thing. And we go back and forth a couple of times between Guthrie reasoning with Roger and Vicky reasoning with Burke. And Burke is difficult to sway. He thinks Vicky sounds crazy, but she begs for his help with David. She tells him that she might have to ask him to do something unreasonable. She explains about all of Laura's other empty graves and that Josette has been helping. She explains about the 1867 death of Laura Murdoch Radcliffe and how she clung to and intentionally burned her son David alive. Cut back to Roger getting the same information. And he says that, well, he's disturbed by this, but it doesn't convince him that magic is real. He tells Guthrie that he has no real proof. Dr. Guthrie says he just needs Roger to buy him some time, but Roger is unsure. Intercut back to Burke's room. He's almost agreeing to help, Vicky asks him not to encourage David towards Laura anymore. He says he'll try, but he doesn't make any promises. He does admit to being confused about his own feelings. Vicky expresses that she trusts Burke to do what's right, which she does as a means of manipulating him into doing what's right. Point for Vicky Winters. In the drawing room, Roger and David are talking, with Roger updating him about Liz's condition. He asks David if he's been behaving. After some urging, David explains to Roger about his vision of himself on fire in the fire. David prefaces this with, like, I know you don't like when I talk about this kind of stuff and you kind of hate me and think I'm dumb, but I guess I'll tell you. So here's what happened. Oddly, Roger is very alarmed by David's fire vision and maybe starting to believe. David says that he thinks he wants to go away with Mother after all, but now Roger is uncertain after this new fire revelation. Roger asks David if he loves and trusts Mother. David says that he does. Roger's like, okay, well, we'll see about all that. And he won't elaborate and just says, we'll see a bunch. And then he sends David away. After David leaves, Roger pours and immediately downs a drink and then looks around worried. Conveniently, while he's glancing around, a book opens itself on the table to a theremin sting. Roger approaches and sees the article that Joe found, and it's kind of funny when he yells, terrified for Vicky. He's all, Vicky, Vicky. And it is cute. I
It's
enjoyed that.
pretty cute.
In the article, Roger has learned that dead 1867 David refused rescue and that he wanted to burn alive with his mother. He repeats this a couple of times, and this seems to have convinced Roger over to the good side. End credits. Episode 183, Victoria Winters, reminds us that it's been creepy at Collinwood for a while, so all this bird nonsense isn't that far out of the ordinary.
Mrs. Johnson is puttering around and Mrs. Johnsoning. And she opens up the door, and there's Laura. Laura asks about David, but she tells her that Vicky took him to go get shoes. And then Laura is mad because they were supposed to go do that. She seems to be feeling kind of faint a little. She seemed out of breath when she got there, maybe a little too much bird magic. Laura tells Mrs. Johnson to send him to the cottage when he gets back, and Mrs. Johnson foolishly tells her that she can't do that because he's not allowed to go anywhere without Carolyn or Vicky. She's pissed and is like, who says Vicky, Carolyn? And Mrs. J's like, no, your husband did. Laura is shook.
She
Opening
makes a
credits.
shocked
Yeah.
face before the opening credits, and Laura is incredulous. She shouts at Mrs. Johnson, who has no explanation, and just says, I don't know why, I'm just doing as I was told. Laura asks where Roger is, and Mrs. Johnson says, oh, he's off with Dr. Guthrie somewhere. So Laura barges her way in and yells for Roger until he emerges. She invites him to join her in the drawing room. Roger dismisses Mrs. Johnson.
And should just dismiss Mrs. Johnson permanently because she is such a
Well,
gossip.
he can't. He's not.
Yeah,
He
that's
can't
true.
dismiss nobody.
No, he has no power, the
He
poor
can
dear.
puff up his chest about it, but ultimately,
Yeah. Anyway, so Laura confronts Roger and is like, what the fuck? Roger tries to play it off cool at first, blaming it on David being behind in school. And she sees through this immediately and presses. And he's like, well, I don't like all the spooky shit that you've brought upon us. And I think it's connected to you. And I don't trust you. and I think it's best that he not go with you, and now you should leave. She threatens him going to jail for all the manslaughter business, and he deflects and says, "Don't threaten me with all of the manslaughter business." She says, "Oh, it's not a threat, and I'll do what it takes. You'll see, David will be mine." She doesn't say it so much as an adoring mother, but as a clutching villain. And,
Well,
you know,
in defense
you
of
can be
Laura,
both.
she's been pretty transparent about all of
Sure.
this. Like, she's given lots of creepy villain speeches that would make a reasonable person think, like, oh, this lady's bad, but nobody will listen.
Yeah. Well, since Roger won't listen to Laura right now, she storms off and then goes over to Burke's. She is at Burke's and she's at the door and wants to talk to him about how Roger wants her to leave without David. And she just comes on demanding his help, saying, "Help me with get lawyers, help me get David." He doesn't really respond at first.
From the time that Laura arrives at Burke's room, he's kind of turned cold on her, as Pearl would say, and greets her with, "What do you want? Because that's the only time you come to visit me is when you need something."
It's true.
She's shocked that Burke is being cold and distant and says she needs to get David away from Collinsport right now, and she needs Burke to use all of his money and lawyers to help her, and is flabbergasted when he doesn't immediately comply. She tries to trick him into helping with promises of a future romantic relationship. Burke threateningly drags her into the lamplight to examine her face, and he says that he doesn't know her anymore and can't help her because he doesn't trust her. She asks if Carolyn and Vicky have had a hand in turning him against her, but he denies it. She raises her voice and pitch and begs him to believe in her, but he does not. She tries to work up some crocodile bird tears for his benefit, but Burke doesn't budge, and she is baffled, like she's thinking, damn, this sexy baby voice has never not worked. What now?
Well, yeah, the Hexa little glamour she's had on both of David's fathers has been suddenly gone, and she's like, what's going on with this? Why are these dudes suddenly having backbones with me?" But yeah, she's crying and he's not buying it, and he's like, "Don't cry at me, Lady Bird."
Back at Collinwood, Roger tells Dr. Guthrie that Laura threatened him, but he won't say with what, because he's come around to Dr. Guthrie's way of thinking, but isn't about to admit manslaughter to him.
Sure.
He does admit to being afraid of Laura. Roger tells Guthrie about Laura's frequent assertions that she's running out of time. He tells Guthrie that he's asked Laura to leave and that he intends to see that she does. Roger's had about enough of all this spooky shit to the point where he's like, fuck this, I'm going to work.
Right.
He reminds Mrs. Johnson not to let Laura into the house or anywhere near David and exits. She's annoyed, complaining to Dr. Guthrie that, yeah, it's easy to say that, but I'm the one who has to police it and nobody will tell me why. And she's kind of on Laura's side, thinking like, why should I keep this little boy away from his mother who seems like a perfectly nice lady? Guthrie asks Mrs. Johnson if in her housekeeping duties she's happened to notice anything weird about Laura. And Mrs. Johnson does her best joke, which is the, well, I'm not one to gossip, but, and then goes into the fact that she has noticed that Mrs. Collins is real weird about the fire and she never wants it to be extinguished or even cleaned. Guthrie is interested in this, so he's going to head down to the cottage to test a theory. Mrs. Johnson is puzzled by all of this.
At the cottage, he knocks and Laura lets him in. and asks when he's leaving Collinsport, was pretty much the first thing. She is pissed that he has swayed Roger and says he's trying to keep her away from David and that he's behind all of it, which fair, he is. He says he did tell Roger to keep David away from her because he believes that David is in danger with her. He says that he knows she wants to destroy him. She scoffs at this and is clearly broiling inside and struggling to contain her contempt. He says the fire is warm. Well, would you mind if I put it out? And starts to move toward that way. And she screams, "Yes, I do mind. Get away from there." And it's all tense. He says that he knows she gets a power from fire. And he goes on to say she's not really Laura Murdoch Collins. Laura Murdoch Collins is like, "Oh, well, who am I?" And he's like, "I'll tell you who you are, who you really, really are."
You're a bird lady.
Instead of saying the obvious, "You're a bird lady," he just goes, "You're the undead, 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 undead."
And she makes a kind of like, what? face
Yeah,
before the
it's
end
just like,
credits.
"What?" But yeah, Dr. Ghostbuster definitely knows. Episode 184. Victoria Winters tells us that there is a face-off between bird ladies and Ghostbusters, and it's on. Guthrie goes on to tell Laura his theory of how she has undead vibes and is a reincarnating bird lady, although he doesn't go into detail about the nature of it, which he does kind of keep it vague and just undead. And
He accuses her of being undead again, and instead of denying it this time, she's like, yeah, what if I am? Before the opening credits, like, what are you going to do about it? He
she's
tells her that he's worried about her intentions for David. She says she just wants him to come live with her. She says only that they'll be together as they should be. But this does not satisfy Dr. Guthrie, and he's like, specifically, what are you going to do to David? And all she will say is, love him. They go back and forth a bunch, and Dr. Guthrie asks her if she's a good witch or a bad witch. And he asks why Josette is against her and if Josette is a good ghost or a bad ghost. But Laura won't answer any of these questions. So Dr. Guthrie just begs her to leave David alone because he's afraid for his safety. He threatens, if she doesn't leave him alone, to go out and tell the whole wide world about her being a bird witch. She teasingly calls him powerless to stop her as he runs out.
he goes to tell Joe that he has got Laura cornered and wants to do a seance at the old house and would like Sam to come since Josette had used him as a medium automatic painter before. Joe thinks it's going to be tricky to get Sam, let alone Maggie, to let all of that go down, but he says he will try. And he's going to bring a table and chairs from the main house to the old house with the fish business wagon, one of the station wagons for the cannery, I take it. But
We hadn't said fish business in a
yeah,
while.
it's one
That's
of
one
my
of my favorites.
favorites. Me too.
In the foyer, David comes down for a snack break, saying it's his third piece of cake that night. Man after my own heart. Guthrie invites David to participate in something secret in the night, but not to tell Mrs. Johnson or Roger. And I'm like, no, David, stranger danger. You don't agree to go off with strange men in the night. But in this case, sure, go for it, because we all love Dr. Daddy. But
It's true.
David promises he'll keep it a secret. Guthrie instructs him to stay with either Vicky or Carolyn for the rest of the evening, and the surprise thing will go down later.
Joe shows up at the Evanses and kisses Maggie hello and says hi to Sam. He is late and didn't even realize, I think, but she is ribbing him about it. And he has to beg off again for tonight for their date because he's here to talk to Sam alone. Sam jokes, well, is this about, asking for my daughter's hand in marriage? And he says not tonight, but that it is serious. He goes ahead and is asking Sam to meet Dr. Guthrie. He's like, sure, we could go meet at the Blue Whale. And he's like, well, no, I need to take you somewhere else. And Maggie's like, up to Collinport to see your ex girlfriend.
Colin Wood.
Or, yeah, up to Collinwood to see your ex girlfriend. Whatever. Potato, tomato. If Catherine Lee Scott can call. Never mind. He goes ahead and asks if Maggie will agree to keep a secret, and she does. I'm sure he has to weigh that, like, my girlfriend gives Mrs. Johnson a run for her money, but I also am already getting in trouble with her. So, that's a hard choice to make. But he does go ahead and tell Sam and Maggie that Guthrie wants him to come to a seance, and he is almost laughed out of the house by the both of them.
After Maggie and Sam laugh at the notion of a seance, Joe explains further that Dr. Guthrie thinks that Josette actually did the creepy bird lady paintings through Sam. Maggie isn't into this idea.
Sam is.
Yeah. Over at the cottage, Laura stares dramatically out the window and then into the fire to increasingly tense music. It transitions into the Laura is up to something music, and what Laura is up to is menacing Dr. Guthrie in the drawing room at the main house. He begins to fidget, then remove his glasses and scratch his neck. Back at the Evanses is Joe continues to persuade Sam to participate in the seance. Sam does start to warm to the idea, but Maggie begs him not to, which really pushes him over the edge because if Maggie doesn't want him to do it, then by God, he's going to do it. So he agrees to go to the seance.
Maggie is like, thanks, dude. Feed my father's delusions and go hang out with your ex girlfriend. Joe does convince him of that, but I don't think Maggie liked it one bit.
I can't blame her.
Then there's more. Laura is up to something music, and Laura is up to something eyeballs. And then Guthrie seems to be feeling unwell some more. Joe comes by to tell him Sam agreed to come to the seance and that he's got the chairs and table in the fish business wagon. Guthrie's feeling off and kind of hot, and he forgot about the chairs and was like not on game.
Maybe having some bird related short term memory problems.
Yeah, bird hexes is happening for Guthrie. Joe leaves and Guthrie starts getting some more bird flu and starts stumbling to the fire and crying out, no, don't let it happen to me now. And he is like grasping at his neck. And we see a cool Laura Fire overlay shot
Where it looks like her big head is in the fireplace.
Yeah, like her
making
big
eyes
dream
at
head.
him.
Her big dream head is now a dream fire head, and it's
That is the
cool.
name of the episode, is her big dream head. In the foyer, Josette appears to David and points at the drawing room insistently. And David's like, what's that, lassie? Timmy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, she points her stinky ghost fingers toward the happenings of the drawing room. So David busts in, and Guthrie is stroking out, and he's like, Dr. Guthrie, oh no. End credits. Episode 185. Victoria Winters tells us the force of evil is seeking revenge, and it is coming for Dr. Daddy. Yeah.
Dr. Guthrie is still collapsing in front of the fire as Laura and her big eyes in the fireplace do magic at him.
He's grabbing at his throat and grasping, and
He's in his shirt sleeves and kind of sexy
it's hot. We
also.
both
So
were very into it.
David enters and Dr. Guthrie begs for David to save him. And David's like, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? So he calls for Vicky.
Vicky.
Dr. Guthrie begs more for David's help before the opening credits, and David is freaked out as Dr. Guthrie clings to him. Laura, looking on through the fire, is like, the fuck is that kid doing here? She backs off, I guess, so as not to scare David anymore. Guthrie seems to have gone bonkers and proclaims David to be the key, which brings to mind Ghostbusters and the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper and whatnot, which is curious because Dr. Guthrie is kind of hot in the same way Rick Moranis is hot in Ghostbusters.
I feel that, yeah.
Well, Dr. Guthrie, for saving him, that somehow means that David is the key. Vicky finally turns up, and Dr. Guthrie sends David out of the room for a bit so he can explain to Vicky what just happened. David tells Vicky and Guthrie on his way out that he only came to help because Josette appeared and pointed him towards Dr. Guthrie so that David could save him. After David leaves, Guthrie explains to Vicky as he's putting his jacket back on about Laura bird whammying him and David interrupting and saving him. It is funny that Dr. Guthrie is always so buttoned up that Rebecca and I both got all hot and bothered just seeing him in his shirt sleeves.
I
So
know, like just that loosening the collar. He's touching his tie a lot and he's wiping off with a little sweat rag. And it's like, oh goodness, Dr. Guthrie's all disheveled and a mess. And it's a whole thing.
Dr. Guthrie heads off to prepare for the seance and reminds Vicky to keep David away from Laura. And later, David and Vicky are about to leave for the seance, but she just has to run into the kitchen real quick to tell Mrs. Johnson something first. So she tells David to wait right there in the foyer and don't move from that spot. And of course, right on cue, as soon as Vicky's out of earshot, Mother dramatically throws the double doors wide open like she's so fond of doing, exclaiming, David, I've been looking for you. She's missed him and he's missed her, but he says he's been awfully busy and kind of tattles on the rest of the gang for intentionally keeping him busy so he doesn't have time to spend with her. She invites him to spend the night with her that night, but he declines and says, oh, gee, I would, but I have fun secret plans with Miss Winters and Dr. Guthrie tonight. She is pissed. She expected Dr. Guthrie to be incapacitated. She's even more angry when David reveals that, yeah, he was having some kind of episode, and then Josette showed up and directed me in there to save him. So she immediately tries to whisk him away to the cottage and is like, no, come with me now. But
Yeah.
he continues to resist until Vicky emerges and confronts Laura, and she and Laura fight over David's company for the evening, and Vicky wins. She threatens Laura on the way out, like, we got your number, hussy, and everybody's gonna know soon. Like,
Yeah, it was pretty bold, and
I do like it when Vicky asserts herself.
yeah, I enjoyed that a good deal. But yeah, Laura's pissed, and then Mrs. Johnson comes to talk to Laura after Vicky and David leave. And she tells her all about the whispered plans of the seances while she's bitching about hating her job. And she spills all the secrets of that she knows something's going on at the old house and that Mrs. Johnson's a fucking snitch. She can get bent. I
It's
don't roll with Mrs. Johnson.
it's cute though because it's like she doesn't even know she's
It is.
doing
It is
it,
pretty
and
funny.
she's a kindred spirit to Maggie, which that's funny, and that's why they hated each other when they
Sure.
first met because they're too much alike.
It's fair. Well, Laura goes to fuck shit up, and at the old house, they finally tell David that they're having a seance, and he's like, "We're having a seance. I'm fucking in."
In
He's
this
so
instance,
excited.
they is just Vicky. Only Vicky and David have arrived. Vicky explains to David that they're having another seance and he's tickled pink. But Vicky warns him that he might hear some unpleasant things in the seance, maybe about how his mother is trying to kill him and stuff. She doesn't go that far, but that's what she's getting at. Laura stalks back into the cottage and takes up her post at the fire. We see Dr. Guthrie starting his car to head back to the house. We see Dr. Guthrie starting his car to head back to Collinwood. During the drive, we cut back to Laura doing spooky bird eyes to the Laura is up to something music. At the old house, David and Vicky wait for the others. Eventually, Sam arrives, and the three of them chit chat about ghost business as they continue to wait for Guthrie. Back in his car, Laura's bird eyes are superimposed over Guthrie driving. Cut back to the old house where David is showing Sam the portrait of Josette. Sam remarks that it's in oddly good condition for its age, like perhaps a ghost lives in it or something and is magically preserving it.
Vicky's getting a sort of far off look while Sam rambles about art and girls same, but also maybe she might be having a ghost moment, like Josette might be tapping in for something.
I don't know, she weren't glowing or nothing.
She wasn't, but Vicky just was like, and maybe, maybe she genuinely was just
Just
staring
bored.
off, listening to fucking Ford or whatever, just go on, like old Sam just a rambling. So yeah, that it could just be that Vicky's or that the actress zoned out a little bit.
Back in Guthrie's car, after much back and forth with Laura's spooky eyes and the fire in the fireplace and all that, other drivers start flashing their brights in his eyes, and he struggles to see. Back to Laura's eyes as she continues to bird whammy him, and Guthrie exclaims, "It's so bright, blinding, like fire." At the old house, they continue to wait. In Guthrie's car, fire is still superimposed over him driving, and he goes on ranting about fire and verbalizes his actions to us like, "Oh no, the car won't stop. I'm trying to stop the car, but the brakes have stopped working. Oh no, I'm losing control of the car." And then he crashes. Laura smiles slyly to herself at her fireplace. Back at the accident scene, we see Dr. Guthrie's car is engulfed in flames before the end credits. Fare thee well, Dr. Daddy. We'll miss you.
We love you, Dr. Daddy.
Well, that just flew by. That was fun.
Yeah.
Even with all our fuck ups, it's only an hour and 8 minutes. So
Yeah, we did good on those. They were fairly fast paced episodes, too. It wasn't a lot of slog. Oh.
anyway, it's 3 o'clock in the morning now, so no after show chat. Follow us on Instagram at Ghosts Want You Dead. Join our Patreon at patreon.com/Ghosts Want You Dead.
Blue moon.
Is
Bye.
that all? Okay, we're hanging up now.
We're hanging up now. I love you.
I also love you.
I saw you standing alone.